Hey guys, welcome to On the Throne, IGN's video recap show for Game of Thrones. This week we're going to talk about the episode, The Ghost of Harenhal. It wasn't quite as vicious an episode as last week's episode, which had a lot of disturbing scenes, but it had its own standout scenes all the same. And so let's talk about the opening bit with the death of Renly Baratheon.
Yeah, I mean, we have a major player taken out right away. I mean, all these people fighting for the throne, and one guy's down now. And, you know, the big thing, of course, happened right after is that now Kat and Brienne realized that they would look guilty in this, which Brienne didn't help by viciously killing the guys who ran in.
Well, you can't blame her for defending herself, but she also, you could see in her eyes, first of all, I don't know how many people realized how much she actually loves Renly Baratheon, the way she was crying over his body. Like, her only wish in life was to be his guard. But yeah, it didn't quite help that she murdered those guards. It was almost like this sort of defense mechanism, this berserker mode, but she had to flee, the Tyrells had to flee too, both of them vowing vengeance against Stannis. And we found out what the Shadow Baby was all about. It's still not full answers, but we knew why they did it. It was to create this assassin that killed Renly. And now it really sucks too, because it was right at the moment, of course, when it looked like things were going to go right in the Starks' favor. Renly agreed to side with Robb, he was going to give Robb the North, and then it all just goes to hell. Yeah,
nothing is going right for the Starks, including Arya, you know, who we continue to see as this sort of prisoner.
Right. Well, you know, so far, and I think I've said this on this show, that one of the funnest parts of this season has been Tyrion, punishing all the jerks and douchebags over at King's Landing. Well, now Arya gets to have sort of a fun storyline too, and she gets to kill people.
Yes,
she gets to name who she wants dead, and Jaqen H'ghar, you know, fuck that name, really. But she runs into him again, she saved his life, and he says, you know, in a sort of Final Destination-y way, it's like, you saved three, or you robbed death of 3 souls, and now it wants 3 souls. Fortunately, it doesn't need the same 3 souls.
No.
But he's like, name them.
Yeah, and I mean, look, we've talked before about how much we root for Arya, and all her support system gets taken away. So I think we're very rooting for her to get this revenge, and for some of these awful people to be taken out that she's naming. So the way the episode ended with her seeing that he got the job done with one person and being pretty content with that, we were happy for her at that moment.
It's almost a shame she only gets 3, considering her list that she says at night, you know.
It's a good starter.
I mean, at this point, she'd just say, the Queen, and what would he do? He'd have to go do something. Anyway, Daenerys, we finally got some, major movement in the Daenerys storyline, because she's in Qarth. She's not starving anymore. She's not trying to find a way. And now she's being, wooed, you know, and adored, and meets all these colorful characters. Kind of reminded me of the Capital people in the Hunger Games. They're all ornate and then there's a lot of warnings that go along with that too. And Xaro proposes marriage to her, but he also puts a strange bug in her ear. He tells her, it's how long has Jorah been madly in love with you? And she's like, what?
And you know, she's had such a close relationship with Jorah and really counts on him, but this does kind of throw her, because at first she says, oh, no, 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 but then you see that she is wondering about it, and will this make her start to mistrust this guy?
Well, in that scene, it's well, we believe everything he's saying. We believe why he likes her. We don't blame him if he is in love with her, perhaps. But also, his words are wise, but maybe she's sort of hearing them in a different way. Maybe she's like, why doesn't he want me to marry Xaro? Why doesn't, even though he's saying completely logical things, you know? And then Tyrion, still a fun storyline. As soon as Stannis got all of Renly's bannermen, all Tyrion really can focus on right now is the protection of King's Landing. And so he has to go down to this pyromancer and talk to him about Wildfire. Yeah,
Wildfire, which, you know, again, we didn't get to see Wildfire, you know, actually be used here, but we certainly heard a lot about what it could do and how dangerous it is. You know, Bronn was so worried about the fact that you take this thing, you want it to be a weapon, but what if it just kills you all? Because it can be so easily, you know, collapse and literally burn down the people that are trying to use it.
I wanted to bring up one thing, which is that as a viewer, I got really mad, more mad than Tyrion even, when Tyrion found out that everyone in King's Landing is blaming him for their starvation and their squalor, when we all hate Joffrey so much and love Tyrion so much, but his reaction was really? He was more disappointed than actually angry about it, and I was like, oh, that sucks, you know.
I don't want to say I was mad about this, but I was surprised, by the way, by the absolute lack of nudity in this episode.
It
was
true.
Shocking for
Again,
Game of Thrones.
Very different from last week's episode as well. But now's the part of On the Throne when we actually have a really cool prize pack giveaway from the HBO store. That's store.hbo.com. And this week it's all Night's Watch themed. You can win a Night's Watch Ranger tee, a Night's Watch Steward tee, a Night's Watch Builder tee, a Night's Watch Signal tee, and a black hoodie with the Night's Watch oath on the front of it. And all you have to do to enter to win that prize pack from HBO is to email us at winordie@ign.com and tell us your favorite part of the episode, The Ghost of Harenhal. Thanks, everyone, and join us next week for another episode of On the Throne.